Money matters, just not the way you think. If you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing and liking the video. It truly helps the channel grow and continue to create contents like this. Money is a strange thing. When you don't have enough, it feels like air, everything depends on it, and you can't stop thinking about it. When you have plenty, it becomes almost invisible, like the quiet hum of heat in winter. You notice it only when it's threatened, or when you finally realize it can't do what you once believed it could. At 90, here's what I've learned: money matters, just not the way you think. When I was young, I treated money like a finish line. I thought if I could just earn enough, the fear would stop. If I could just save enough, I'd relax. If I could just reach a certain number, life would finally feel secure, and meaning would naturally follow, like happiness was a receipt that came with the purchase. That's a beautiful myth. It's also one of the most common traps. Because money can solve problems, but it can't solve the ones that keep you awake in the quiet. It can buy comfort, but not contentment. It can buy a house, but not a home. It can buy company, but not companionship. It can buy distractions, but not purpose. It can buy time on a calendar, but not time in a relationship. Still, I want to be honest, money does matter. I've been poor. I've been comfortable. I've seen what it does at both ends. When you don't have enough, money becomes a daily threat. It turns life into constant math. Can I pay rent and fix the car? Can I buy groceries and cover the doctor bill? The stress of that kind of scarcity changes you. It makes you cautious. It makes you tired. It can make you ashamed. So yes, financial stability helps. It helps more than people admit in polite conversation. It reduces friction. It reduces fear. It gives you options. It gives you breathing room. It can protect your health. It can protect your family. But beyond a point, the return on money changes. It stops adding joy the way you expected. And if you keep chasing it like it's the one thing that will finally make you whole, it will quietly trade your life away in exchange for numbers on paper. I knew a man named Howard who chased money the way some people chase love. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't evil. He was just convinced the world was unsafe unless he had a bigger cushion. He worked long hours, traveled constantly, and measured his worth by his income. Every time he hit a goal, he moved the goalpost. Bigger house. Better car. More security. He lived like he was always preparing for a storm. Then the storm came, but not the kind he expected. His wife left. Not in anger. In exhaustion. She told him, "I'm lonely in a house we can afford." Howard was stunned. He said, "But I did all this for us." She nodded. "I know. But I needed you, not all this." That's the moment some people never recover from, not the divorce, but the realization that the sacrifice they made wasn't asked for, and the prize they won wasn't what they hoped it would be. Howard kept working anyway. Work was the only language he knew. He built a bigger life around a smaller heart. When he retired, he had money, yes. He also had empty rooms. A calendar full of nothing. Friends who had stopped inviting him years earlier because he always said no. Children who were polite but distant, as if they didn't quite know who he was beyond the provider role. He once told me, "I thought money was the answer. Turns out it was just a tool." He said it like a man learning to speak after a long silence. I also knew people on the other side, people with very little who were rich in a way that made me question everything. A neighbor, Mrs. Ramirez, who lived in a small apartment and cooked for everyone. She had a way of making you feel like you belong. Her laughter filled the hallway. Her home smelled like warm bread and onions and love. She didn't have much money. But she had people. She had purpose. She had dignity. When she got sick, the whole neighborhood showed up. Not because she had paid them, because she had given them her presence for years. That's the kind of wealth that can't be invested in the stock market, but it pays dividends in the only currency that matters when you're old: who comes when you call. I want to tell you something most people won't say out loud: money can make you more of who you already are. If you're generous, it can expand your generosity. If you're fearful, it can expand your fear. If you're lonely, it can build nicer walls around your loneliness. I've seen people buy bigger homes and become more isolated. I've seen people buy the newest things and still feel empty. I've seen people pile up luxuries and still struggle with the same anxious thoughts at night. Because the mind doesn't care what you own. The mind cares whether you feel safe, loved, and meaningful. And meaning doesn't come from consumption. It comes from contribution and connection. In my 50s, I reached a point where we were finally comfortable. Not rich, but stable. Bills paid. A little saved. Enough to exhale. I remember the first evening I sat in the living room and realized I wasn't worried about the electricity being shut off. That kind of relief is real. It's worth pursuing. No one should romanticize financial chaos. But I also remember what happened next. My mind immediately searched for a new fear. It was like it didn't know how to live without a threat. Instead of worrying about bills, I worried about investments. Instead of worrying about rent, I worried about retirement. Instead of worrying about survival, I worried about status. That's when I learned a painful truth. If your inner life is unsettled, money won't settle it. It will just give your worry nicer clothes. So the real work becomes learning when enough is enough. Enough is not a number. It's a relationship with your life. It's the moment you realize you're trading time you can't get back for a little more comfort you don't truly need. It's the moment you ask, what am I buying, and what am I paying with? Because you don't only pay with dollars. You pay with evenings. You pay with weekends. You pay with your health. You pay with your attention. You pay with your relationships. You pay with the parts of you that could have been alive in other ways. I've met so many older men who said, I wish I'd worked less. Not because work is bad. Because they didn't realize they were using money to justify absence. They thought providing excused them from being present. It doesn't. I've also met older women who said, I wish I'd asked for help sooner. They carried the household like a second job, often without recognition, and they believed self-sacrifice was love. Sometimes it was. Sometimes it was fear of being seen as needy. Money plays into all of this because money is tied to worth in our culture. We treat income like a scoreboard. We treat spending like identity. We treat financial success like proof of character. And then we're shocked when we have money but still don't feel like ourselves. Here's the balanced truth I wish someone had told me at 30. Chase stability, not infinity. Stability is paying your bills. Stability is reducing debt. Stability is having an emergency fund. Stability is living within your means. Stability is protecting your future self from panic. Infinity is the chase that never ends. Infinity is always one more level. One more upgrade. One more year of grinding. Infinity is the belief that you'll start living after you secure everything. You will never secure everything. Life will always be uncertain. Money can soften uncertainty, but it can't erase it. In the next part, I'll tell you about the most expensive thing I ever bought, and it wasn't a car or a house. It was an illusion. And I paid for it with something far more valuable than cash. It happened in my early 40s. I was offered a promotion that came with a big raise. The kind of raise that makes your friends whistle and your parents proud. The role required travel and longer hours, but it came with status, and I was hungry for the kind of success that looks good from the outside. We celebrated. We went out to dinner. My wife smiled, but I could see something behind her smile, concern maybe. I told her, "This is for us. This will make everything easier." And in a way it did. We upgraded the car. We fixed things around the house. We stopped flinching at grocery prices. Comfort entered our life like warm air. But I didn't notice the other thing that entered: distance. I missed dinners. I missed bedtime stories. I missed weekend mornings. I missed the small daily rituals that quietly glue a family together. I told myself it was temporary. 1 or 2 years. Then I'd slow down. Those years stretched. The money kept coming. The distance grew. One night my son asked my wife, right in front of me, "Is Dad coming home tonight, or is he just visiting?" He said it like a child says a fact. No anger. Just confusion. I laughed it off, but the question landed deep. Because children don't care about raises. They care about presents. You can't deposit money into a child's heart and expect it to feel like love. You have to deposit time, attention, warmth. That promotion was the most expensive illusion I ever bought. The illusion that more money automatically improves life. It improves parts of life. It can also quietly damage the parts you can't repair with wealth. The lesson isn't, don't earn. The lesson is, don't trade your soul for a number. Don't keep saying, just a little more, until the people you love stop waiting for you to come back. Money is a tool. Use it to build the life you actually live. When you start seeing money as a tool instead of a trophy, your whole life changes. A tool has a purpose. A tool is meant to serve something. If money isn't serving your values, it will end up serving your ego or your fear. And ego and fear are expensive masters. After that promotion season, after I finally admitted the costs, I started asking a different set of questions. Not, how can I make more? But, what is this for? That question sounds simple, but it reveals everything. If it's for safety, good. Build safety. If it's for freedom, good. Build freedom. If it's for generosity, beautiful. Build generosity. If it's for impressing people who won't show up when you're sick, reconsider. One of the clearest things aging does is it changes what impresses you. In your 20s, a fancy car might look like success. At 90, success looks like someone who can sit quietly with a friend and be content. Success looks like a body that still allows a walk. Success looks like a family that still wants to visit. Success looks like a mind that can rest. And I want you to hear this without judgment. It's normal to want money. It's normal to want comfort. It's normal to want to provide. But you must be careful about the story you attach to it. Some people attach the story, if I have money, I'll be worthy. Others attach, if I have money, I'll be safe. Others attach, if I have money, I'll be respected. Others attach, if I have money, I'll be loved. Those stories are powerful. They can drive an entire life. And if the story is false, you can spend decades chasing a feeling money was never designed to deliver. I saw this with a man named Curtis. He was one of the wealthiest people in our area. He lived in a house that looked like it belonged in a magazine. His kitchen had marble counters and appliances that looked like they could launch a rocket. But he ate alone most nights. His marriage had turned into a polite business arrangement. His children called him when they needed something, but not when they wanted to share joy. One afternoon, he invited me over. We sat on his back patio overlooking a pool no one used. He poured expensive whiskey and stared at the water as if it might answer him. Then he said, I thought this would feel different. What would? I asked. He gestured at everything. The house. The yard. The view. The whole picture of success. All of it, he said. I thought when I got here, I'd feel finished. Like I could finally relax. He took a sip and said quietly, but I'm still me. That's the point. Money doesn't replace inner work. Money doesn't manufacture purpose. If you don't know who you are, money gives you more options to avoid finding out. Curtis wasn't a bad man. He was a man who believed the wrong promise, that wealth would close the gap he felt inside. But the gap was made of loneliness and unspoken grief, not unpaid bills. Now, I also want to tell you about the healthy side of money, because the healthy side matters. Money can be dignity. It can be protection. It can be generosity. I've seen money pay for home care that allowed someone to stay in their house longer. I've seen money cover medical treatments that bought precious years. I've seen money allow parents to take time off and be present with their children. I've seen money fund education that expanded a young person's future. I've seen money help someone leave a harmful situation. I've seen money create choices. That's why the goal isn't to reject money. The goal is to put it in its proper place. If you want a framework, here's mine, learned late but still useful. Security, pay the basics, Reduce high interest debt, build an emergency cushion. Freedom. Create options, time, flexibility, the ability to say no to what harms you. Health. Spend on what keeps your body and mind strong, good food, movement, rest, care. Connection. Invest in relationships, travel to see people, host dinners, take days off, be present. Meaning. Give, build, contribute, support causes, help others, create something that outlives you. Notice what's not on that list. Impressing strangers. Strangers don't bring you soup when you're sick. Strangers don't sit with you in grief. Strangers don't remember your stories. Most of the applause you chase will fade the moment you stop performing. I also learned that money and time are intertwined. People say, time is money. But it's the opposite too, money is time. Money can buy you back hours, by reducing stress, by outsourcing certain chores, by allowing you to retire earlier, by giving you flexibility. If you use money to buy time, and then you actually spend that time on life, money becomes a blessing. But if you use money to buy things that require more work to maintain, you end up in a hamster wheel with nicer furniture. There's another truth. We often chase more money because we don't want to feel uncomfortable. We don't want to feel behind. We don't want to feel ordinary. But ordinary is not a failure. Ordinary is where love grows. Ordinary is where you find peace. I think about my own happiest seasons. They were not the seasons of highest income. They were the seasons of highest presence. When my kids were young and I made it home for dinner. When we had friends over and talked late into the night. When my wife and I took a simple road trip and laughed at nothing. When I had enough, and I knew it, and I stopped chasing. Knowing you have enough is a spiritual skill. It's rare. And it's worth practicing. So here's a gentle exercise I sometimes suggest to younger people. Imagine your future self at 80. Not as a vague idea, really imagine it. Imagine the body slower, the hands more fragile, the eyes more tender. Then ask that future self, what would you trade money for? Most older people I know would trade a lot of money for a pain-free day. For one more dinner with someone who's gone. For one more year of independence. For one more conversation that matters. For one more chance to make it right. That doesn't mean you shouldn't pursue financial stability. It means you shouldn't sacrifice everything else at its altar. Because money is meant to support life, not replace it. At 90, if you ask me what the richest people are, I'll tell you, the richest people are the ones who are loved and loving. The ones who have peace in their chest. The ones who can sit with themselves without distraction. The ones who have someone to call and something to wake up for. So work hard, yes. Be wise, yes. Save, yes. Provide, yes. But don't confuse the tool for the destination. Spend money on things that expand your life, not shrink it. Spend money to buy time, not buy stress. Spend money to protect your health, not impress people. Spend money to create memories, not only possessions. Spend money to be generous, because generosity is one of the few things that makes wealth feel warm. And if you're already chasing, already deep in the grind, pause for a moment and ask, what is this for? If the answer is love, freedom, safety, and dignity, good. Keep going, but keep your eyes open. If the answer is fear, status, or a hole inside, be careful. That chase can eat your life. Because the most heartbreaking thing I've ever seen is someone who wins the money game and loses their people. Loses their health. Loses their joy. Then sits in a beautiful room, alone, wondering why it doesn't feel like victory. Money matters. But in the end, it's not what you have that will hold you. It's who you have, and who you became while you were earning it. If you can learn that while you're still young, you'll be wealthy in the only way that truly lasts.